All right, Shalom Israel, giving all praises to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Kakadash. Rakatah Yahweh, Brakatah Yahweh Shai, double honors to the apostles, bishops, elders, great millstone, more salutation to the brothers, teaching word for the hopeful elect, and to the contrite spirits, extended hopeful elect, multitude Shalom. This is a quick video. I don't want to make it long. Get to another video. This is Gene Deal. He's a in-scoop guy. He talks a lot about, celebrity world, and I just started watching him a little bit. So I don't know, like his full, what he does on a full scale as far as his topics and, but what I've seen is 2 interviews of this guy, and they asked him about celebrities so far as I've seen. It says Gene Deal makes shocking claim that Angie Stone was murdered and exposes the people Diddy blackballed, and I'm going to play a little bit of it.
In this publishing, in this music game, that she had not been able to recoup.
So he's telling her how Angie Stone realized that she was getting duped out of her money, and she had a lot of money she was supposed to be, owed or have regarding her music. Especially, I guess, dealing with certain contracts. A lot of these celebrities, they have to hire people if they tend to be smart about it and not want to get bamboozled. They hire, financial advisors. I hire, lawyers or some kind of inside people that they tend to be close to, I guess, or trust, to look over their contracts, give them advice on their record deals, their publishing, whatever it may be,
So she was doing an audit to recoup the money in which these music record companies owed her throughout the years for songs she had written. And then she comes up dead, and they try to say that she was hit by an 18-wheeler. They said she flew out the window, and it comes that we find out because one of the guys on the internet paperwork, Countdown John, went to the funeral with a hidden camera and saw her whole body. And it didn't seem like she was hit by a diesel. Said she looked beautiful in her casket. He showed that on the internet, bro. So Angie Stone, she said that somebody was trying to kill her. Somebody was trying to murder her. She was in fear of her life. And 2 weeks later, she come up dead, bro. You don't find that strange? An accident that 9 to 10 people was in a car with her, in a van with her, and she the only one comes up dead?
That's the same similar thing that happened with Left Eye. It was 8 people in the car, and she's the only one that was killed, supposedly, allegedly, I guess. Same thing with Kobe Bryant. It was like 9 people in the helicopter, and he and his daughter, along with, others that died. So, they use numerics, they use dates, they use premeditated ideas to, bring forth. And it's kind of like, to them it might be kind of like power of prophesying. Roman Catholic Church is the false prophet in Revelation. So they do, tend to use spells and magic and even some kind of, biblical ideal of, prophecy, to to bring something forth before it happens, or to have some play out exactly how they planned it in their mind on their in their database and on their as far as the schedule, like these events and all that. So, you know, same thing that happened with Prince, Michael Jackson, you know, same thing that happened with Aaliyah. They were trying to get out of a deal or trying to break away or trying to own rights of. They were trying to, so, there's no longer a conspiracy theory. Now, I'm going to call this if you dance with the devil, then he's going to get you. You're going to die by his song or get killed by his song, meaning, these people dance with the devil. They believe in this entertainment world. They sign contracts. They do things to sell their souls. Um, and even if it's a trap or it's they always say, well, you didn't read the fine print. You know, they do want their record deals out there. They do want that fame, and there's a price to pay for fame. We always mention that. Um, and it's scripture that says, your dancing shall be turned to mourning. It says, Lamentations 5:15, the joy of our heart is ceased. Our dance is turned into mourning. So, the devil wants to dance with you with the bright lights, camera, action. They love, being, like, especially with these women, they love being pretty, how the industry fixes them up to look, you know, look the best they can be. A lot of these celebrity women were busted before they came into the industry. And then, the industry fixed them up. They got the money to do that, and there's a price for fame. They got the money they got the means. I won't say actually fiat money, but they got the means to travel based on their contracts, based on the connection that they have with the industry. They get to be on the red carpet. They get to have their clothes designed, fashioned by great fashionists, whatever. We don't have those means. Not that we don't look for fame, of course, but those are the type of things that they sacrifice themselves, and they don't really understand that because they, at the end of the day, when they are alone or when they detach, so to speak, from the industry, and they get back to their, so to speak, natural state of thinking, they be like, well, I'm a black man, I'm a black woman, I deserve my money, and they forget about that they're dealing with a whole beastly operation with this industry. You know, like they'll drop your ass to the side if you talk too much or if you want something from them or if you try to hire lawyers and all that. And I think Angie Stone in an interview she said that before. They took her that she was gonna try to get with some lawyers or something to fight this case to get the money that they owed her. You know, and the same thing like what happened to Michael Jackson, Prince, and a lot of these celebrities. Aaliyah was trying to break away from Black Ground Records because, you know, she had an issue with them. Even Timberland and Missy Elliott tell you that they wasn't on good terms when Aaliyah passed. So I think she was trying to go for independence, which a lot of these artists do, especially when they get into a point where they make a little bit of money and they tired of the industry and they see the control and they say, well, yeah, let me just go off the grid, so to speak, musically and try to do my own album and try to gather my own support team and have my own financial support team, advisors or whatever, and then and the next thing you know, but you know, you reap what you sow also, man. That's in the scriptures. And they have sown into the fabric of this industry. Let me see, get that scripture. Reap what you sow, King James Version. Because it's a scripture that says in this Apocrypha that they have gone too much into the world. It's a such thing as going too much into the world. You've made too many connections. You've made too many friends in the world. You possess too much and invested too much into this world to where even if you try to break apart or try to be independent, somebody's going to come looking for you. And it's not going to be easy because you didn't let that be your foundation. Reap what you sow, King James Version. Galatians 6 and 7, it says, be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he soweth to the flesh, he soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. See? That, and they wait for this money. They don't have no spiritual reflex on getting their head together and be like, that money is not that important. I got to get my spirit right. And these are a lot of these are the gospel singers, neo soul singers. They feel that they got some kind of moral code, and even Angie Stone out of mouth, she said this is not right. Well, what tells you what is right or wrong? Because if you don't believe the scriptures and what the Most High says overall, and through, then on what basis do you tell people that they're wronging you? All you could do is go back to their contract, and then they were like, well, Angie, this and that, and they're gonna, they got their own language when it comes to their contracts. And then you're gonna be like, well, I don't understand that. What does that word mean? That's why the apostles say go into words, because the devil can wrap you up, contractually wrap you up with words. And then you be like, they use those, even with court words, the term. That's why, for a man to go into court and defend himself is not so wise if he's able to get caught up, because he doesn't understand the language of the court. Because you go to the court and see what kind of language they use. It's English, but it's words, fancy words that they use that you be like, yeah, I don't know, So, and you can go by the Bible, but they want you to play their game in their court. They want you to dance to their music. It says, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. It says, let us not be weary in well doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. And basically, she folded, she fainted, she called out, and she called out for what do you call it? What do you call it? What she felt was due to a recompensation, I think. I don't know if that's the right word, man. Anyway, and it's almost like our people marching for rights, voting for rights. Like, this is the enemy you're dealing with. This is a beastly system that you're dealing with. So they're gonna look at you like, who are you? Like, what do you want? Like, who are you to come against us? And like it says, that proud beast that was more stout than his neighbors, they got that spirit. This is Rome all over again. You got to do some research about Rome and the Colosseums and the entertainment and what it was used for their pleasure, for their for gain, for money, whatever. And it's the same way today. the elites set platform and stage for Jake for their pleasure, for their entertainment, and for gain, for money, whatever. So you dance with the devil, you gonna get killed in the song. So on our part, this is a song. We're dancing to what the Most High is saying, not with the world. And it even says Yahweh Shai, the Son of God, who they ignorantly call Christ Jesus. He said he prayed not for the world, but for them that was uh, given to him out of the world, but the Most High chosen, which is the elect. So she wasn't playing by the rules of the Most High. Most High. She didn't want to dance to that song. She didn't want to, and she danced a little with the devil. But before the song was over, they killed her. Now it says too, we have, you have not danced. Ye have not danced, King James version. See, and they love all this music. They smile at the office with the big CEOs, and the and the small hats are over these industries, music industry, movie industry. The theaters and all these things set up stage and it comes from Hollywood, Broadway in New York, the theaters and all that, and the coliseums and the entertainment, the gladiator stuff. That's all controlled by these elite people. Um, Matthew 11. I'm saying, let me go before that. It says Matthew 1 and 15, I think it is. No, 11 and 15. It says, "Here hath he that hath ears to hear, let him hear. But in woe and slack. Whereunto shall I liken this generation? It is like unto children sitting in the markets and calling to their fellows and saying, We have piped unto you, and ye have not danced. We have mourned unto you, ye have not lamented." For I think that's not the one I wanted. Um, it is like a song, King James version. Like a song, a joyous song playing, King James version. I think it says pleasant song or something. Yeah, Ezekiel 33 and 32. Get there. And they come, 31, and to thee as the people cometh, and they sit before thee as my people, and they hear thy words, but they will not do them. For with their mouth they show much love, but their heart goeth after their covetousness. And lo, thou art unto them as a very lovely song of one that hath a pleasant voice and can play well on an instrument. For they hear the words, but they do not do them. And when this come to pass, lo, it will come, then shall they know their prophet have been among them. So, we have had celebrities that come and listen to us, a few that we seen and that know, and a lot of these, most of these celebrities, even before her passing, um, who else passed that we talked about? Oh yeah, the one from A Soul to Soul. I forget her name right away, but she was, made that song. However, however do you want me back to life? Talking about the spirit world, talking about how she came back and she went into the spirit world and came back and was wondering because she enjoyed the spirit world and then she had to come back to this world. So we always tell you too, this is, you live your judgment on earth, and this is form of hell, especially on our part because we're still, in this kingdom of the so-called white man ruling. So a lot of these celebrities look like they're having fun. They look like they're smiling. They might and be enjoying that life because that's what they enjoy doing, whether it's singing, dancing, basketball, football, Olympics, any kind of sports. But at the end of the road or somewhere in between, they they've been duped out of their money. They've been, they been they've been wearied out because they have to, do all these things and it's not adding up. They didn't sow. They sow. It says, well, I mean, him that he that received his consolation is, I mean, them that are rich receive their consolation. A lot of these people are not rich, but they live the lifestyle of a rich person, which is to, like I said, they got, they fly from one country to another, state to another. They have all the clothing that they want, a wardrobe of clothes. They in and out of the best hotels. They even get to get on the red carpet and be seen and cameras, lights, and action. They get to have these interviews by some of these prominent shows. A lot of these prominent shows, and this lights and glitz and glamour. But when they go into the you know traveling and on all that, and they want to kind of escape that and go off the grid, nobody's there for them. Nobody can help them. You know, and because so they forget. Nobody could help her. She had industry friends. Michael Jackson, one of the biggest entertainers. Prince, they had they had friends. The love of many what do you call it, fans that'll die for them, put their life on the line for them. That'll change their face structure to look like them. That'll give them a home, and they'll sleep outside. But at the end of the day, no one can help them, man. So when you dance all night and you party, so to speak, with the devil, with the industry, and when it's time to go home, you like, man, that was fun, but reality kicks in. Now you got to deal with traffic. Now you got to deal with, man, you know, I gotta get back to work. I gotta get, I gotta, clean the house, feed the dog. I gotta, set up appointments. And the work kicks in. So, champagne and popping bubbles and popping champagne and bubbles and jacuzzis and hotels. It seems glamorous on the outside, but it's not on the inside. And that's what they don't tell you. That's what the devil tends to always promote, this glamour for Jake, you know. But really, it's a dark ass industry. It's a dark song. It's uh, you know, it could just turn the lights off immediately. Pull the rug from under you, the red carpet, whatever you call it, the rug from up under you, feet, and you slip. You know, it's a song, old school song called "Slipping in the Darkness." I forget who it's by, but one of those groups of ours. Um, so you got to be careful. You can't dance with the devil. If anything, like Apostle Rakai said, dancing is it can be a style of war. Even the Native Americans, so-called Native Americans, they have a war dance. If anything, if you dancing with the devil, it better be war, because that's what they came to do against us. Declaration of war, saying, well, look, you're a big star or you're a big item or whatever, because they look at Jake as merchandise, money, item, whatever, commodity. And then they say, well, yeah, what are you going to do? Because, we got all your contracts in hand and we got where you did this, you spent this, you went out of the way of this, you wasn't supposed to do that. So we kind of have penalties against you in this contract too. and you owe us, and um, you're tending to break your contract, which is what do they call it? Forget that word. Um, yeah, I might think of it later, but and it's almost like the cop when he's saying, "Well, why?" They asked him, "Why did you shoot the dude? Why did you shoot the woman?" He said, "Well, he was resisting arrest. You know, they were, rebelling. You know, and then they might show the videotape, and then if you do anything or make any kind of move that seemed like that's what it was, then they'll be like, well, they'll root in the cops' favor, and most likely will anyway because this is the game that they play, and they exercise their authority. They want to make sure that people get the message of they're the rulers, they're the ones with the guns and the badges and the weapons and the make the law, you know. So nobody's gonna come to your aid if you commit some kind of act or ruffle some feathers with the government. Nobody's gonna come knocking at your door and say, "Can we set up a court date with you? Would you be cool with that?" Which fine, no, you got to report to them. They just send you a message, a letter in the mail or whatever. You know, same thing with everything else. You can't say, "Well, I don't want to go to war," and you just be close your door. They're gonna be like, "No, we want to talk to you. You've been, called for war." They call it something. I can't think of that word either. Sometimes I'm bad on English words, man. I just, it don't come to mind the perfect word that you're looking for. Usually doesn't come to mind right away. But anyway, so that's what goes on, man. Um, and he's probably, who knows who this guy is. All those people that's coming out against the celebrities, coming out against Diddy, they're probably informants, and to keep our people entertained. Like it says, be occupied in prophecy, but our people are occupied in these kind of things. We just do videos about them, and we get back and we make sure that in the videos we emphasize, concerning the matter that it's all what's supposed to be happening, and it's all the Most High's doing. Whether they took out or not, Most High had to get taken out by a song by believing these people. Well, I believe that I should have this money. I looked up and I deserve royalties or I deserve and she should have been like, well, that's the worldly stuff. I'm not gonna mess with that stuff no more. I'm with the Most High now. They can keep that money. Fuck themselves with that money. The hell with that. Long as I got a sound mind and according to the spirit of Yahweh Yahushai, but of course, and our people know the truth, and I'm pretty sure Angie Stone knew the prophets were out there, just like DMX, just like you know Fantasia, just like K Michelle, Lala. They all know Carrie Hilson. They all know the truth. Kanye West, Kyrie Irving, all them. They know the truth. Fat Joe, Ice Cube, all of them know about the Israelites, man. So there's no ducking and hiding no more. Most High is about, to have everything's answered, everything out on the table, so to speak, to where you really got to know. It says evil, death and life and death is laid before you. Therefore, choose life. You really got to make a decision. With that MOTB, you're gonna have to really make a decision. Like, it's the mark of the beast. Like, what am I doing? You know, she had to make a decision, and she decided that they were probably telling her, you know, Whoopi Goldberg told the same thing to Monique, like, hey, don't do that, don't get too hostile, cause they'll take you out. Man, what did Monique do? She was still kind of hostile a little bit, but now you can see she died down. She's back in, trying to get roles in the Hollywood game, and you could call it Black Hollywood, Black Boule, whatever. Of course they got a marketing system. They market you down when you're black, and you do black roles and this, and then you gotta, like the BET Awards compared to the Oscars. So the value, they your value is with them is to, if you want to get up the ladder, you're gonna have to definitely go through them, and they don't accept everybody. And those, they got a bloodline too. They got a brotherhood too. And if you're not that, then you're just a tag along. To where, yeah, you can, we could, you tag along with someone, but you can't sit with the elite table. You can't sit at the elite table, but you can maneuver in the industry and rub shoulders with a few of those